Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and I know my new policy has been to basically limit politics to my firearm channel, but in this case, a political writer has delved into fat shaming and how fat shaming might actually work based upon the data and the research. And a lot of you may not know who Milo is. Actually, Milo did mention me briefly once, but Milo is a major alternative right speaker and writer. And a big part of what he does is debunk feminism and far left thinking as far as feminism and gender are concerned. And he himself is actually gay, but he's also a right-winger as part of the alternative right. And so he simply refers to himself as, quote, the most dangerous faggot in the world. Now, Milo wrote an article, and it's sweeping all through the fitness social media pages that I look at and frequent, and people who are on my friends list and things. And so I'm seeing it everywhere, and I went ahead and read it yesterday because that's when he wrote it. And he makes some interesting points, and it's something I've been trying to consider also lately, of how do we balance fat shaming with fat acceptance, because obviously fat acceptance isn't going to work. And here's the problem. That's what he breaks down there. And I mean, I know that I have said in the past that even fat shaming might not work either, because you can't necessarily shame someone into getting into shape. There's deeper psychological and social issues going on that contribute. But we know that fat acceptance absolutely does not work, and he breaks it down very eloquently in his article, and he explains it for you guys. And I'm going to link that article down below. And I think a lot of these ideas could be applied to fitness in general, because that is something that seems to be a big part of the far left's political agenda these days, is to make everyone love and accept themselves how they are and with their flaws. But the problem is it's also with flaws that are self-imposed, and they're oftentimes flaws that are absolutely devastating to the health, fitness, and even psychological well-being of the individual. And that's where we run into major problems, and the whole fat acceptance movement is part of that. And to basically summarize Milo's message on that, it is teaching people to accept themselves while in a lifestyle that is going to kill them, that is going to reduce quality of life, that is going to burden the medical system. It's going to burden society, because as the obesity epidemic rises and rises and rises, the cost of health care for everyone will rise. If you have any sort of socialized medicine involved, the taxpayer as a whole is going to be burdened by it. People in a private system are also going to be burdened, because they're going to have higher insurance premium rates, because medical insurance itself is going to become prohibitively more expensive as the obesity epidemic rises. Because again, when you look at the statistics, obesity is pretty much, and obesity related issues are the leading causes of death in the Western world. And what I mean is, it's not just the direct obesity, but you factor in that we know that obesity actually massively increases cancer rates. And people don't always want to talk about that. They don't want to talk about the fact that, well, all these people dying of cancer are skinny. Yeah, but how many of them lost 100 pounds with the cancer and the chemo? What you have to factor in is people who get cancer. If you're obese, you're going to contract cancer at a much higher rate. You have the cardiovascular disease aspect, the cardiovascular health, the heart attacks, the strokes, the blood pressure. Then we have the diabetes issue. If you are obese, and particularly morbidly obese, you are dramatically more likely to develop type 2 diabetes and go on metformin or even insulin in order to actually survive. And that can cause organ damage over time also. The medications themselves that you have to use every day as a type 2 diabetic can actually kill you over time also. There is potential organ damage involved with just slight variations in dose, missed doses, and since you're having to do it every time you eat, you're going to have minor slip-ups here and there. You are going to damage your body over time. It's almost invariable. But people are being taught to love and accept themselves how they are. And that would be great if you're talking about the inner person exclusively. But before long, you have people saying that obesity is healthy because they've loved and accepted themselves for who they are. And they've loved and accepted a lifestyle and a body that is lifestyle induced, and it's a terrible lifestyle that causes it. I mean, this would actually be the equivalent of telling people who get addicted to heroin that they should love themselves for who they are and accept the body that the heroin that they inject has given them, that it's okay. Yeah, they're losing a lot of weight. Yeah, all their teeth are falling out, but they're still beautiful and they're still a good person, and they just need to love and accept themselves for who they are. And it's the same with the obesity. Who you are is not an obese person or the lifestyle that created it. The actual lifestyle that created it is going to kill you. And there's a reason obesity is considered to be unattractive. It's because it's a sign of poor health. That's just basic evolution kicking in and saying, hey, I don't want to have sex with that person because they're unhealthy. They're not going to be fit to be a long-term mate because they're going to die on me. And that is what your natural instincts are telling you, because it is a outwardly marked sign of poor health. And in certain times, having a little extra fat, and I mean, not to the point of morbid obesity, but extra padding, yeah, that's a little different, because that could give someone protection from famines, and we tend to find that more attractive in women than in men, just genetically. But as far as obesity, yeah, it's rejected because we know instinctively as a species it is a sign of poor health, and therefore it is less sexually attractive. So when you look at all of it from the health perspective, telling people to accept themselves and love themselves as fat, well, that's a problem. And he breaks it down further. Milo breaks down that we have a couple of different groundbreaking studies recently that actually show that that's very much the case. The people who lose weight are generally motivated by both peer pressure and a desire to improve their self-image. Well, the thing to factor in is that if your self-image is partially damaged because you look unhealthy, you feel terrible, you feel physically bad, you have a low quality of life because of lifestyle-induced issues, that again, they have psychological and social factors involved. Morbid obesity oftentimes has other psychological factors that contribute to it tremendously. Sometimes they're genetic factors, but sometimes they're psychological factors based upon various trauma and things that you've experienced in life. And that's something that can't be discounted, but those are, again, mental health issues. And oftentimes mental health issues can be partially corrected through internal motivation. Well, that motivation can come from the fact that, hey, I don't feel good about myself because I look terrible, I feel terrible, I know I'm unhealthy, and other people who see me know I'm unhealthy. So instead of saying, I'm just going to love and accept that unhealthy part of who I am, the people who are successful are like, well, how about I change who I am? I change my behavior, and the rest will follow. If I change my behavior and start moving towards a direction that I know is going to make me healthy and going to make me feel better, then maybe I will start feeling better. And when people program themselves that way, it tends to be a lot more successful. And people who just love and accept the fat person that they are tend to not want to change, and then their health suffers. Their quality of life will suffer because they've created an illusion in their own mind that it's okay to be that way. So then they have no desire to change. And then before long, you have stuff starting to where, oh, health at any size. You know, you can be morbidly obese and still be healthy. You can be way overweight and still be healthy as long as you eat healthy foods and exercise a little. You can be 50 or 70 pounds overweight of pure body fat, and it's all going to be fine. That you can be healthy at any size. And before long, you start seeing this insanity created that medically is not true. It's just a myth. It doesn't work that way. Obesity itself is actually considered a medical disorder. You're unhealthy by default, and even if your blood work and everything looks good for now, give it a little time. It will deteriorate as a result of it. So that's part of it. And then the social aspect. Other people are actually driven by a desire for greater social acceptance because they know other people look down upon them for it because, quite frankly, it's a sign of poor health. It makes you unattractive because people know that you're not healthy. Now, it's not always an issue of discipline per se, because again, there's other psychological factors involved. Some people, due to various hormones, traumas, other things, simply have much, much higher appetites than others. And so if you have a higher appetite, the same level of discipline is going to end up having you be much fatter than a person who has a lower appetite and the same amount of discipline that you do. So it's not purely a discipline issue, but it is an issue of lifestyle choices. People who have higher appetites are simply going to have to work harder and use more methods to get the results. But it comes down to, again, though, the social acceptance issue. These people know that social pressure wants them to be that way, and oftentimes that can push people in the direction of being healthier, because at the end of the day, having people who are just happy and content and love themselves while they feel miserable physically, while they're unhealthy, while they're being a burden to the medical system, insurance system, everything else due to their lifestyle, that isn't the desired result that we should want. The desired result that we should want is for people to be healthy and fit and happy at the same time. And I think Milo drives that point home a lot with breaking down those motivations and what some of the newer research says. And so I have to question the fact of, should we be worried about fat shaming? No, not so much. I mean, we shouldn't be complete dicks to people who are overweight, but the point does need to be driven home that it is unhealthy, that it is going to destroy their quality of life. And for those of us in the fitness world who know about weight loss, we know about training, that also gives us the opportunity to say, hey, I can help you with this though. Don't just offer criticism, offer advice, a helping hand from people who actually know about this stuff. So again, those of us who are in the fitness world and have fitness-based lifestyles, we actually have the ability to turn that shaming into the direction of, hey, you know it's unhealthy, I know it's unhealthy, I can help you do something about it. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and go check out the article if you want to. I've linked it down below, and I will talk to you guys next time.